Hello again, this is Hal DeSaussure, President of the Akron Bar Association. I'm going to try another video message. This one's by Zoom actually, so hopefully the quality is good. I'd like to discuss for my message this time the passing of a jurist. Of course, we've all read the news about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. While this is the news of the day, the jurist that I want to talk about, and the one that comes to mind now, is one who passed away about 2 months ago. And was a force of personality in the Akron legal community. I refer to Judge James E. Murphy. Judge Murphy served for about 30 years on the bench, both the municipal court bench and the common pleas bench in Akron. The practice of law, as we all know, is interesting in and of itself. What makes it more interesting, of course, are the personalities that we lawyers meet along the way. Judge Murphy was one of those personalities for me. You had to be on your toes in his courtroom. He was fair, but he was hard-nosed to the lawyers that practiced in his court. And no one can forget the idiosyncrasies of practicing in front of Judge Murphy, such as his Irish-themed chambers and the countdown clock to St. Patrick's Day that counted down the days, hours, and minutes to that eventful day for him. I tried a number of cases in Judge Murphy's court, and he was always entertaining from the bench. Each day brought something new for us practicing lawyers in his courtroom. He provided a sort of color commentary on the running of the trial that was the juries generally found entertaining and we lawyers viewed with trepidation. You had to prepare for it as best as you could. I'd like to bore you with one anecdote, or maybe a war story, if you will, that comes to mind whenever I think of Judge Murphy. I was trying a case with George Emershaw. He was on the other side. It was a small case, but like all small cases, it was a case that was important to the clients that we represented. George's client was a female teacher at a high school who had collided in the hallway with one of the students who was also in the hallway at the time this occurred. She was claiming injury, and liability was definitely disputed. On the stand, this teacher, George's client, was, to my view, evasive, and was one of those witnesses who would answer questions at length on cross-examination, but never the question that you asked. I had asked the judge on a couple of occasions to remind the witness to answer the question asked, which Judge Murphy politely did on a number of occasions until he reached his point where he could no longer restrain himself in the manner in which the witness was responding. So while the teacher was evading another question and without any prompting from me, Judge Murphy leaned over the bench, which anyone in his courtroom would recognize, and he stared down at the plaintiff, who was then at the witness chair, and yelled, "Teach, just answer the question." And there was a moment of silence in the courtroom. There was nothing polite about the question. It came out of the blue, and we all just sort of sat there stunned for a moment. At the next recess, which was called shortly thereafter, I told my client I thought we were done for and we should up the ante a little bit in terms of where we were, because I was afraid the jury was going to feel sorry for Mrs. Teacher. George, on his side, thought the same thing, except that he thought the jury was turning against his client because it was clear that the judge was not having anything to do with her. So during that recess, George and I settled the case. We reported this before we went back out, and the judge just smiled at us as if he knew all along that's what was going to happen. It was an interesting case. It was an interesting experience practicing with Judge Murphy. And he has not been on the bench for a few years, but he was a colorful member of the Akron judiciary for a long time. Rest in peace, Judge Murphy, and I'm sure that you still have the countdown clock to St. Patty's Day on your bench, wherever it may be. Keep reading the emails from the Akron Bar Association. We'll keep providing updates to you. I will give you more news next month at the conclusion after we hold our membership retreat, which we're hoping to do in October. And in the meantime, Keep working hard with the Bar Association and your practice. Thank you very much and talk to you next time.